So today I'm going to be reviewing Star Wars Lego set 75383. That's Darth Maul Sith Infiltrator. And I have the now empty box in front of the camera here because I put it together. If you want to see the videos of me putting it together, they'll be linked in the description below. I did a step-by-step because I know my kids love putting stuff like this together, but they do a lot of the Lego sets that we buy, but they sometimes have a hard time with just the directions. So I thought, if I'm putting together anyways, might as well make some videos showing this step-by-step for anyone, including younger people, older people, whoever that has a hard time following the directions. Fortunately, this one was not that bad a set to follow the directions compared to some sets, but I know some of them are harder than others. So those will be linked below if you want to see any of the building process, anything like that. We're just going to jump straight into the review. So this is a MSRP of $70. I paid $60 essentially for it. It was I paid this full $70, but then I get $10 Walmart cash because I bought it on Walmart.com and got $10 back essentially to spend at Walmart. So this is the set right here. It has 640 pieces, and we're going to talk about a few different things. First, about the building process, how it was to build the set. Then we'll talk about the first impression of the minifigures, and then we'll talk about the process of the set after it's built, like what it's like. Do the kids like it? Stuff like that. And then we'll talk about the value and all that. Then we'll give it a final rating. So that's four different categories. So we'll give 2.5 points for each one. And then that will give a possible 10 points at the end. So out of 10. And it's all, of course, subjective. What I think about this may be very different than what you would think about it. But that's kind of what a review is, right? So let's go ahead and jump into it. First, we're not going to talk about the value just yet, but you do, like when first looking at this set in the store and seeing a $70 price tag, it looks on the smaller side for a $70 set. So when we talk about the value, I do want to point out though that the box is quite thick, so there's still quite a bit that was in the box. So when we talk about the value, I do want to remember the size of the box doesn't matter. How many pieces, what the set's like, what the minifigures are like, but it is larger than it seems when you're just looking at it on the shelf. And so here's the set after it's been built. And I'll point out a couple things about it when I get to the playing area stuff, but just in talking about just the building process, I don't have the minifigures up yet. We'll look at those in a minute. But the building process on this was fairly simple. The instructions did a great job of breaking down things into the easiest parts, in my opinion. It was something that it says 9+ set. I could see a lot of 9-year-olds being able to do this. My kids, when they were 9, probably could have not done this all on their own, but every kid's different. So you kind of know what your kid is and how well they can follow instructions on a Lego set. This is something they could do a lot of on their own, and then there probably were some different parts where a lot of the pieces look the same and they would have needed my help pointing out where each piece went. My kids now are, one of them is, the one that does Lego usually is 11 now, and I absolutely think he could have done this on his own at 11. So it wasn't too bad, and it was fun. It was a fun build. One of the things with ships is a lot of things get sort of somewhat repetitive, and this one, it did have that, because you'll notice that you've got right here and here, like there's this mirror image on both sides. So you did repeat a lot of this stuff once, and then coming down you've got some symmetry, but you're going to always have that on a Star Wars ship set, and it's fine. It's a lot of it, if you realize it's coming up, not all of it, because some of it's reversed, but there's a lot of it you could build at the same time. It's different things like that, and so it doesn't seem as repetitive. So overall, I enjoyed building this. The minifigures were fun to put together. It had all that stuff. So I would say I would give it a 2.5 on the building. Looking at the minifigures just together first, I would say that this is these are at least from the play perspective, from the kid perspective, these are the stars of the set. These are some of the minifigures that my son wanted. He doesn't care about this one, Saw, even though that's the most expensive one. He definitely wanted this Darth Maul and then the Qui-Gon Jinn. Those were the two big ones. And we've looked at getting a Darth Maul, and they're expensive. This set, the one that comes with this set, isn't as bad as some of the ones that we've seen. But still, if I were just going to buy these minifigures, we're not talking about value yet, but the minifigures are really cool, and they're hard. There's some of the ones are kind of hard to get. So to me, the reason that we got this set was the minifigures. I thought the ship was really cool, and it's honestly better than I thought it was going to be just looking at the box. But the minifigures kind of steal the show with this. I know there's only 4 of them. They're just all 4. I've talked about the kid perspective. From my perspective, the collectability side of it, they're all 4 just really good figures. Let me move that in just a little bit. And there's not any like filler. You know, I don't have any just generic clone troopers in this set or anything like that. Not that those are cool, because, you know, like army building with these and stuff is fun, but they're all really cool figures that I would have wanted. I would have bought each of these separately just to have them. It's, you know, it's a Star Wars ship. So obviously anything you can do with a normal Star Wars ship, you could do with this. So if you have kids that like to play, it's pretty sturdy. Like, I wouldn't just sit here and drop it. The only really complaint is when I was building it, these landing gears don't stay down very well. They kept switching. They kept moving up and the ship was leaving. That's not a huge deal, but that was one thing. I wish those stayed down a little better. But if you have a child that likes to play with Legos after they're built, they could do all the things that they would do with a normal Star Wars spaceship with this, for sure. And then there are a couple of features that I do really like that I haven't seen in as many. I've put together a few Star Wars ships lately that of the more recent builds, and some of the things it does. One of the things that's just really cool, I'll show you that. But I'll show you that last. But you got this that holds these little things that Darth Maul has, and those actually have a play feature, which is pretty cool. So I'll show you that in a minute, but I'll pull those out in just a second and show you. And then in the back, I do like that it can store his little bike. I'll pull it out here. So it's always nice whenever the set or something has a place to put these little things, because these little things, if kids are playing with it, and it's not just being displayed. This one's going to be displayed, but one of my kids may get it down and play with it some. So it's always nice to have a place to put these little pieces here, these little things, because I don't want them to get lost. I like to keep my sets complete, and having a spot to put this whenever it's not being played with or displayed or whatever is nice, and it does have that. I'll keep that out for now so I can show that with the minifigure. And that's pretty easy to get into. The wings can go to different angles. So I guess whenever you're using the landing gear, this would have to be down. So I would probably keep all those down. But then I believe, it's so long since I watched Phantom Menace, but I believe when he's flying it probably looks more like that, would be my guess. That seems to be typical of Star Wars ships. I'm going to fold them back down. And one of the couple of cool other play features is it's got the normal missiles right here. I'm not going to launch those, but they launch pretty hard, possibly too hard. I don't know. I could see, you know how they have the picture of them putting out the eye? I could definitely see that happening with these. They are pretty powerful little, more than I ever would have thought. I like the mechanism to launch them. You don't just push on the back like I've seen some. You push right here, which is pretty cool. I'll go ahead and do that, but we'll push here, and then here. Let's just get this out here. I'm going to push on that button, and you can see they just, well, one of them is, well, they both went out, but oh, here it is. You see, I didn't even see one fly. It just went so fast. So I don't know if that's something that you would like or something that, I guess it depends on the age of the child who's playing with this, but they do go out pretty fast, and it's kind of neat. And then on the bottom here, we have this right here. And when you pull that, it actually launches these. I could just tell you, I remember being a kid, and I would have loved that when I was a kid. Let me show you. We're going to pull that. and it just launches them sort of like it does in the movie, and you can pull it back and reset it. But I would have thought that was really cool, and I haven't seen that recently on some of the ships, that kind of a mechanism. I'm sure it happens, but I haven't seen it. So overall, the play experience I think is pretty cool. I could really see my son playing with this a lot. I was going to get him on the video talking about his thoughts on it, but he's not able to right now. So I would give it, I would say a 2.5 on the play. So, all right, so now we're going to shift and talk about the value of the set. At a retail price of $70, my initial impression is I feel like we should have gotten possibly a little more. So when I was first looking at this, I was prepared to give the value a really bad grade. It's still not going to get a perfect grade, because I think for the price, $70, it didn't come with as much as I wanted. But when looking at other sets of a similar size on Amazon, just picked Amazon for that, you actually aren't getting anything that's really under rate for recent sets. I'd argue that recent sets are overpriced, so I'm going to factor that into the value grade. But I've got the Sarlacc Pit set pulled up here. It has 558 pieces versus this set's 640 pieces, and the Sarlacc Pit set is $80, and it comes with, it does come with 6 minifigures, so it does come with more minifigures, so, but it is $10 extra as well. So that set to me is it does come with fewer pieces but more minifigures, so I would say it would be worth a little more than this set would be just because of the minifigures. I also looked at the Lego set, the boarding of the, let's see, the boarding of the, I'm hopefully going to say this correctly, Tantive 4s, and sorry, I know I probably said that wrong. The boarding of the Tantive 4, and that set, number 75387, is MSRP $54.99. I know you can get it cheaper now, but I got this set cheaper as well. So that set comes with 6 minifigures. They're not as good. Actually 7, and that ARC Trooper on that set is really good. So 7, one of them is really good. The other ones are kind of minifigures we wouldn't have really looked for necessarily because we have so many of them. And it is 502 pieces, so a little less than this, but the retail price is about $15 less. So obviously that set, if you're just looking at the number of pieces, the price per piece, and the number of minifigures, that set would be much better value than this set. But I'm looking at the list price on Amazon. So we got the TIE Bomber set number 75347, that comes with 625 pieces, has a retail price of $649, and that's very close to this. Now the minifigure selection in that is, once again, there's only 3, and they're not nearly as good as this, in my opinion. They're just kind of more generic minifigures that we have some of. There's one Vice Admiral, and then there's the droid that are pretty cool. So it does come with 4. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. It comes with 4, but one of them's a little different. It's not like a normal minifigure. So to me, for my son would be looking at that TIE Bomber set, it comes with 3, because he would love the droid, but it's not like a minifigure to him. So I get the TIE Bomber set that's $64.99. So that's very close to this, and it's just about $5 cheaper. And it does have fewer pieces and worse minifigures. So overall, so far, just looking at the build and comparing it to recent other Star Wars sets, it's kind of on par with a lot of the recent stuff. Like I said, I'd argue that the recent stuff is a little overpriced, but my initial impression may have been a little off when compared to other recent Star Wars sets. Now we have Darth Maul on the thing here, and I looked at each of the figures, like, because I said I would have bought all these if the price was right on their own without the set if I weren't going to get the set. So let's look at the value of each of the minifigures on the secondary market. For that, I looked over some eBay listings, and on eBay, the Darth Maul figure that you're seeing here has some recent sales, because that's what matters, is what they're actually selling at, because that's about what I'm going to be able to get them at. And if I were going to resell these, this is what I could sell them at. Obviously, I'd have to pay fees and shipping, so I would not get dollar for dollar what it says. But when I'm talking about value, that's what I'm looking for. So I got a Darth Maul that's $12 plus $5 shipping. There's another one that sold for $17 plus $4 shipping. And then I've looked all through. It looks like the Darth Maul is selling anywhere between $15 to $20 after shipping on average, with some being slightly less than that, some being slightly more than that. So far, if on the minimum side, we're looking at about $15 of value in just the minifigures so far. And then he also, once again, he comes with this stuff, which is part of the build, but it's kind of part of the minifigure. And then we have Qui-Gon here. There we go. Got him stood up. And Qui-Gon is very, very similar. When I was looking through for Qui-Gon Jinn, and he's a cool minifigure. We don't have a Qui-Gon Jinn yet, so we were pretty excited to get him in this set. I'm seeing after shipping, we've got one listing for 15 or so, one for, a few different prices. The way I did Qui-Gon, because Anakin wasn't going for as much, there were a couple of solds for Qui-Gon. For one here is 25 plus 5 shipping, so 29, and that's Qui-Gon and Anakin together. And then we got another one that was 15 with them together. So and then another one that's 15 with both of them together. So the way I kind of looked at it was we got Qui-Gon and Anakin together is about, at a minimum, about a $15 value for both of them. Now, are there some Qui-Gons and Anakins that sell separately for more than that? Yes. If I were selling this myself on eBay, I would probably sell them separately based on what I'm seeing. But if I were buying them, it looks like I could get them together, if I checked at the right time, for maybe $15. So far we got about $30 worth of value in just the minifigures. And then we got Saw here. Now Saw is, I didn't even realize this when I bought it, because we bought it to get that Darth Maul. And we figured Darth Maul, and then we'll get some bonus stuff. We'll get the ship and the other figures. But this Saw Gerrera is actually the star of the show when it comes to value. Saw is kind of all over the place, but I looked at the most recent couple listings. We got one for about $39, one for about $46, one $37 plus shipping, $35, $35, $40. So just scrolling through, there's a lot. I see an auction for Saw that went for $30, and the auctions usually are going for less than the buy it nows. So definitely, I would say at least $35 is what I'd have to pay for Saw. He's not one that I would pay $35 for, but he is really cool. And to get him in this set as part of the other stuff was pretty cool, especially when I looked at the secondary market value. If I didn't care about having the set complete, I probably would just sell him for $35 and pay off half of the price of this. I wouldn't get quite that much because of shipping and fees, but it would be, close to that, because it doesn't cost much to ship these. So overall, if I were just to buy these minifigures without the ship, just to buy them separately, I would be looking on eBay about $65. So for a $70 set, getting $65 worth of minifigures, if that's what I was wanting, is not a bad deal. So I'm taking up the value more than I was expecting to because of that. But I still feel like at a $70 price point that it should have come with a little bit more from Lego side, because they don't set the secondary market. They don't have anything to do with that. Well, I guess they don't. I don't know. All they do is they make the stuff, they sell the stuff, and the more they make of a particular figure, the less it's going to cost, right? So I would say from a value perspective at the $70 price point, I'm going to give it 2 points out of 2.5. And that's because it is on par with recent sets, and the minifigures do hold a lot of value. And so they're all things I would pick up. So right now we're at a 9.5 total out of 10 points for the whole set, which means it's a set I would recommend. I would go and buy it again after putting it together, seeing what it comes with, looking at them, holding on the pieces. I would absolutely buy this again if I had to go back and make the decision over. It's one that I might look to buy if they ever mark it down anymore again. I might look to buy a couple more just to put away, because I do like to have the sealed set collection as well. And the other thing is, if you can get it, if they're still doing that promotion of you get the $10 back in Walmart cash on Walmart.com, or if you ever see it cheaper, like I essentially paid $60 for it, I would absolutely take that value score up to 2.5. So if you can get this cheaper like I did, for once again, essentially $60, it would be a 10 out of 10 set, because that value would go up just a little bit with that $10 extra that you would be getting back. So overall, absolutely recommend to buy this set. It's a cool set. It's fun to put together, fun to play with, and the minifigures and stuff are just great. So if you haven't already and you like this kind of stuff, you could help me a lot. I'm new. This is my first Lego video, and I know that's a hard space to get into. So if you did appreciate this at all, it would help me a lot if you'd hit the like button and then consider subscribing, just to get me started, get the ground running, so that I can see if this is something people want to see and something I need to make more of.